Go ahead. I'll grab it.
One, two. Uh, okay. Such question. I was under trial period of 3 months. I'm with Wells Fargo Bank, and I paid one time 1 month. I had to pay 2 more months, so I decided to quit. I didn't pay. What is the practical right thing? I mean, to do something about that, because soon I'm gonna receive a letter, or they will put that house for the auction. What can I do at this point to extend at this point, or just to win with the situation with the house?
Okay, if you can hear me, is that okay? If I understand the question, you're currently in a modification. You made one payment. Obviously, they ask you to make three. The question is should you continue to make the payment? Okay, you want to stay in the house longer. You bar the windows. Uh, you own a gun? Is your cousin a sheriff? What state are you from? Oregon. Are they friendly up there? Okay. This is basically what I would do is this. You're in a trial modification. I haven't seen the document on the modification. Modifications and forbearance agreements and short sales, you are swimming in shark-infested waters. And I think a lot of people will agree on the fact that if this has ever happened to one, you will find that in a short sale, once they find out that the bid is too low, the problem is that they got an appraisal a year ago and the house has depreciated even more, so when they get a real live offer, the bid is too low. So that's in a short sale. And then they pull the trigger a few days later and can foreclose on you. Once you're in foreclosure, it's tough to go backwards, unless there's fraud involved, of course. If you're in a modification, my only advice to you is to continue to make the payments. I would never tell you to stop making the payment, but I would consider calling the master servicer, in this case Wells Fargo, and ask to see, one, is my loan modifiable? And don't call once, but call 9 times so you can get 11 different answers. And at that point in time, are you comfortable with the payment? And if you're comfortable with the payment, that they've modified it and go through that process with Wells Fargo. But I would never, ever tell somebody that they were in a modification to quit paying. The biggest question is if you're comfortable with the payment and if that works, and continue to be in contact with the master servicer and ask them, is the loan modifiable? And that's really what you want to keep continually saying and posting, your payment. Do it on time like they ask you. Do everything that they ask you to do. But call them up and ask them if it's modifiable.
So I have a follow-up question to that.
Yeah.
We did the 3 payments.
Yes.
They then send us a letter to say that we didn't qualify.
Right. Very typical.
Take it from there.
Okay. When you're in a modification, a lot of people don't know this, but the government's cracked down on not the modification so much, but on banks. Basically what they did was they offered to change the terms of your loan. And if they didn't send you an ECOA notice, you know what an ECOA notice is? Okay. E-C-O-A, ECOA notice. It's basically a loan that's been turned down. If you Google ECOA, you will find that it's a notice that says you've been turned down for a loan. And hopefully they won't send you one of those. Most of the time they don't. But if you look it up, the new banking regulations that came from the FDIC says that if you are turned down in a modification, you are supposed to get an ECOA notice. So you want to ask for an ECOA notice. And that'll give you the reason why. And I suspect they haven't told you why you were turned down. Is that a question that you asked them, or you just got the note? You just... Okay. Yeah, so that's very dangerous. You need to get back to them and ask for the ECOA notice. Because, what bank is it with? B of A, okay. So at that point in time, you want to find out who turned this down. And don't take the answer from a customer service girl, although I have a 21-year-old daughter who is a bartender, makes a lot of money, but talk to somebody higher than the customer service agent. Talk to the person who actually worked that loan in loss mitigation. They do have a telephone number, they do have an extension, and you can talk to those people. But stay in touch with them because you're in some, again, shark-infested waters. This is only in my words. It's just a scam to continue the flow, because when you're a master servicer and you stop paying, guess what? They don't. They have to continue to feed the trust, because the trust is this big beast with all these investors. And if these investors don't get paid, they come after the trustee. And then eventually the trustee comes after the master servicer. So when you stop paying, it doesn't mean that OneWest or B of A or Wells Fargo doesn't. They continue to pay. And there have been several institutions where one has robbed Peter to pay Paul. Just imagine all the people that are in some sort of foreclosure problem and they're not paying, and they are still continuing to pay and fuel these trusts, pay these investors. So, you want to try to work it out with them. Make the call, though. Talk to the person who worked it out. Question? Yes, sir.
Bill, we have 2 Oregon properties, just 10 days out from auction, one in Eugene and one in Newport, and was wondering what okay, details. 2 Oregon, right here. Oh, there we go. 2 Oregon properties, 10 days out, one in Eugene, one in Newport, and I was wondering about the pay arrangements and to get things facilitated so we can get payment to you to get these auctions stopped.
10 days is a very short window. That's why I think I get ulcers once in a while, because I get people who call me up and 10 days seems like a long time. I think we had one maybe 48 hours. But it's important that you contact me, email me with urgent, losing my house. Don't put 10. Put 5, because you'll get my attention more than 10. Yeah. Because we got to do, you got to do a lot of fast talking. And mostly what I would go after is trustees, when they foreclose on your house. If you all don't know this, they're not only foreclosing on their house and collecting a fee, but their main purpose is to sell insurance. They sell insurance to the person who's going to buy it. That's really what they do, their insurance. So we want to threaten to go after their E&O insurance, or whoever their insurance carrier is one of the tricks that we use. But it's important that you get a hold of me, and I hope the 10 doesn't include the weekend.
Okay, Bill. Now, as far as extra payments and that kind of thing, for travel expenses to go into court and this, what all does it cover, just so I can relay the message?
Sure.
Okay.
When I go out of state, it's airfare and the cheapest hotel room you can afford. Or it's whatever accommodations you have. And then we'll see what's involved with it, because I've been in your area before, but it's it depends on the amount of work and time, and what I have is time. And it seems like it's not enough time for a guy who has 5 kids. It's just insane. I got to put a little time into them. But just email me and let's see what we can do, because, 10 days is, that's what gets me, that gives me ulcers. Yeah. And you're feeling it too, and you probably haven't slept very well in the last 90 days, so I can feel for you.
Guys, we're going to take 3 more questions. I'm sorry, I've already got them picked. All right, we'll take 5 more questions, make them quick, and quick responses. Okay.
I'm wondering if these bankers, when they've got to service these loans, if they're doing so with these FRNs. But really, I have a question. I don't have a mortgage. She doesn't have a mortgage, but we've got friends and family around us that we'd like to help them, i.e. even take an inheritance early. What would be the way? Is there a way we can gain interest and be able to do this for another?
Okay, whoa. Calls for legal speculation and or legal conclusion. Objection. Let's not go into that. I'm sorry.
Can't give legal advice.
Yeah, you're kind of pushing that one. Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Hey,
John
Bill.
protects me in that format there. I already know the answer, but you know. Go ahead.
Last time I heard you speak was in our classroom. You had mentioned that even if you lose a forcible detainer, you should never leave your house.
Yes.
Why? What's to prevent the sheriff from coming in and physically taking you out of your house?
Good question. You either have to know them, but the real answer really is, for time's sake, is that your property's been foreclosed on, and 2 things have happened. It's either gone back to the bank, or it's gone to an individual such as an investor out there who has purchased your property. Now, when it goes to an investor, and you don't want to leave, you're probably going to end up going into a forcible detainer. And that is the last venue that you're going to have if you can get, and I think you're in Arizona, right? Yeah. I've been to a lot of forcible detainers. They keep spelling out the same law over and over and again. But the basis of the whole thing is you have one last venue. But there is a program out there that everybody will offer you funds. I like the slang word is cash for keys, but the real process here is to try to get some funds from the servicer so you're not walking out with the refrigerator, the stove, and the oven. And not that I avow to have you do that, but I certainly wouldn't leave the house for 2 reasons. One, most important to me, is dignity. Okay? I know it's happening to a lot of people out there, but it's one, dignity. And second of all, you need funds because U-Haul isn't cheap, or a mover isn't cheap, and you want to be compensated for that. And I've seen people paid up to $15,000 to leave their house. So you do have negotiating power with them. So I always will tell you, do not leave that house. The other thing is what you will find out is in foreclosures, make sure that they record the trustee's deed. It can take 90 days. In some states, there's redemption periods. Even though you've been foreclosed on, there's a redemption period of 30, 60 days where you don't have to really leave because they haven't recorded anything. You still own the house. You still own that house. But I would suggest strongly that whoever is in touch, whether the realtor or the REO or the investor, the greatest story that I have, and I'll say it real fast, is a gentleman had $200,000. An investor bought it for $80,000. The investor gave him a hard money loan, 5% down. He bought the house back from him for 5% down. It was the greatest story I ever heard. I put the 2 together, and they've been friends ever since. And that's very rare, but that's a very nice investor. He just reduced his principal payment like that in a trustee sale. So it depends on who buys your house. Oh gosh, sheriff knocking on your door. Well, if it's Andy Griffith, he'll probably work with you. But if it's Arpaio, I don't know, but I do have people that the sheriff has knocked on their door, and generally speaking, there's a court order, obviously, after that sheriff is knocking on the door, and so I don't recommend you violating that court order, although I've been told it's just a misdemeanor and a $50 fine. but they can change the locks on you, and you know, it's about dignity. That's what it is. It's about dignity. And you want to walk out of your neighborhood or walk out of that house for whatever reason, but you want to walk out with dignity. And